Hi everyone, Heather here with Astrology with Heather.com, and I am back with another weekly forecast. This one is for Monday, July 8th, all the way through to Sunday, July 14th of 2019. And we have another wild week in the astrology. Things are heating up. We have eclipse season in full force, Mercury just stationed to go retrograde, and this week Mercury fully, still not really moving yet, still kind of stationed in the skies, but moving just very, very slowly, will actually be coming into a conjunction with Mars in the sign of Leo. Mars will also be coming into a square with Uranus and Taurus. And so this is where things get a little bit crazy. Uranus represents rebellion. It represents impulsivity, excitement, change, disruption, electricity. And so with this energy, with Mars squaring Uranus, it's very likely, especially with Mercury being involved in this mix, that people are going to be making really impulsive decisions. They're going to be saying and doing things without really thinking them through. And so this can create a lot of turbulence and a lot of difficulty, especially later on down the line when you have to deal with the repercussions of these actions that are being initiated all willy-nilly this week. And so that's one of the issues that could arise right now. You could find yourself rushing through things, becoming more prone to accidents, to bumping into things, to doing things in ways that are a little tactless. And so you want to make sure that you're really thinking things through. On the other hand, if you've been really sort of withholding this energy of change, if you've been resisting this need for change that maybe has been coming up for you for quite some time, maybe you felt very frustrated with a specific situation in your life, an event, certain circumstances, your living situation, your relationships, your job, your friendships. There might be an area in life where you've been feeling a lot of frustration. And if that's the case, and if you've been resisting making changes in that area, this is a week where things might reach their tipping point, where you might get to the point where it's like, okay, this is so irritating, this is so frustrating, I feel like I'm in a cage, I need to change it now. If that's the case, then this might actually be a really great opportunity for you to do that. And so if it's been building for quite some time, you've been thinking about it and hesitating, this might provide the energy where you almost have to initiate some sort of change. Just be aware that with Mercury in retrograde, unless you happen to be a Mercury retrograde person where you have Mercury in retrograde in your natal chart, with Mercury in retrograde, you might have to go back and make adjustments. You might have to change some of the decisions that you've made. You might have to adjust what you've initiated during this time, especially next month when Mercury goes direct and is in its shadow phase, moving direct after the retrograde. And so, there's a lot to consider here, and we'll get into that a little bit more in depth when we get into the forecast for all 12 signs. But it is going to be a week where you might see a lot of disruptive energy in the media. You might see a lot of people making really abrupt, irrational decisions and changes in their lives. You might find that people are a little bit more on edge. They're more likely to have a short temper and to say things that maybe they don't mean, or that they do mean but they didn't want to say. And so it is going to be a little bit of a turbulent week for some people. And speaking of Uranus, I do want to mention that I do have my webinar all about Uranus called Mastering Uranus. That's going to be occurring on August 17th, which is a Saturday at noon my time, which is Mountain Time. And this is going to be a live webinar, roughly 4 hours long. We're going to go really in depth into the energy of Uranus in your birth chart, by transit, and the cycles of Uranus and how that impacts you during different stages of your life. And so this is going to be a really in-depth webinar. I'm going to give you all of my best information and examples about this outer planet that causes such abrupt change and turbulence and shocking circumstances in our lives to just sort of show up out of nowhere. And that's really what's going on this week. And so that's why I'm mentioning that. Is that you could find that something changes in your life all of the sudden, out of nowhere, in this very abrupt sort of intense way where it shocks you out of complacency. Maybe you didn't even realize that you needed to make a change in a certain area of life, and something comes in and changes it for you. And it's very sudden, and it's very unsettling when it does happen that way. However, the change that's being made this week in all of our lives is a change that we need to make in order to liberate ourselves from anything that's stuck, stagnant, boring, monotonous. If we're resisting that rebellious energy, that urge to rebel against the status quo, we might not be able to resist it anymore. And so that's a lot of what this energy is bringing up this week. It's going to bring up any latent desires to do something a little shocking, to do something a little different, to approach things in new and innovative ways. We might also find ourselves having really profound flashes of insight that lead us to make these changes. But those flashes of insight, the information that we're receiving, either through contemplation or from some sort of outside source even, might be very disruptive to our current paradigm or our current mindset around things. And so it can be shocking in that way. Like, you might have this moment where you're like, oh my goodness, I've been doing things in this one way, and now I see why that's not working, and I don't even know where to begin when it comes to changing this. So, there's a lot of different ways that this could come about, and of course we'll get into this more in depth in the forecast for all 12 signs. But before we do that, we have more to go through because this is a crazy week. So in addition to this energy of Mars square Uranus, which comes exact on Thursday, but will be really, really active all week long, and this energy of Mars conjunct Mercury, which will happen on Monday, but again, active all week long, but especially the start of this week. Beyond that, which is going to be a very tense sort of energy where people will be kind of going all over the place, and we might find ourselves on the receiving end of some sort of shocking news or some sort of shocking interaction or insights. We have this energy of the sun, which is in the sign of Cancer right now, coming into a conjunction with the North Node. And so if you recall, I did a video just a couple of weeks ago about the lunar nodes in the birth chart. The nodes are the calculations for the eclipse points. They show us where we will have eclipses if the sun and moon come into a conjunction with those nodes. And so they have a really strong association with the eclipse energy. And so we're in the middle of eclipse season. We had an eclipse last week, and this eclipse energy is being activated in a really profound way with the sun in a conjunction with the North Node. And so this might be the point where something was stimulated last week, but this week you get some sort of news, you get some sort of karmic experience where you feel like fate is guiding you into a new direction. You have these strange energies and circumstances and synchronicities that come up to pull you on a new path. However, this is also highlighting very, very strongly the energy of Saturn, which is in a conjunction right now with the South Node. Which has us deconstructing a certain area of our lives, letting go of old, oppressive, stagnant structures and energies. And if we don't let go of that energy in that area of our lives, it's going to be very difficult to move forward, to have those new beginnings, to move more deeply into our path, our purpose, what we came here to experience and learn about in this lifetime. And so there's a very intense karmic clearing that's going on, and there's an opposition between the sun and Saturn. And so the sun, on the one hand, is illuminating what we need to let go of and what we're moving into this week. It might become very, very clear to us. However, it's also illuminating the struggle to get there, the struggle to let it go, the struggle to work through that energy. And so it might feel more burdensome, but at the same time, you might feel like you have more hope. You might feel like you understand things better. You know where you're headed, and you know what you need to do to get there. You're ready to put in the work, and you're ready to put in the effort, but it might feel more burdensome. It might feel more strenuous this week. The other thing that's happening is that at the end of the week, the sun will actually come into an opposition with Pluto, which is part of this configuration with the sun, South Node, and Pluto that's been sort of dancing around this in the skies for a few months now. And so the sun in opposition to Pluto is going to highlight this really intense energy where we're fixated on something, where we're holding on maybe to something that is past its expiration date because we have an emotional or psychological attachment to certain structures in our lives that are not healthy, that are not good for us, that are oppressive, and that are preventing us from connecting more fully and more deeply to what we truly want on an emotional level, what we need for our comfort zones, connecting with people on that more emotional, nurturing, supportive level. These things can be inhibited by focusing too much of our energy right now on that Saturnian area of our lives. Yes, we need to work on it. Yes, we need to let go of it, but we also need to look at where we're moving into. Why are we releasing this? Why are we letting this go? Why do we have to deal with these burdensome structures and work toward deconstructing and reconstructing this area of our lives? Well, it's because we have this other direction we need to move into, and whatever's going on in this other area, this area of deconstruction, needs to be purged, needs to be worked through, needs to be let go of, so that way we can create space. And that space is going to allow us to move where we need to move, to go where we need to go, to make those changes that are being stimulated by this eclipse more fully and completely, without being held back, without having this bondage, these chains, these shackles from this energy of Saturn and Pluto. And so that's really what this week is about too. So there's a lot of change in the air. There's a lot of potential for doing things in new and exciting ways, shaking things up, letting go of the burdens and moving forward into a new direction. And so this is a powerful week in the astrology. And we're in between eclipses too. We had an eclipse last week. We have an eclipse next week. Mercury's retrograde. Like, everything is sort of up for review right now. Everything is changing. You can feel it in the air. It could be an energy where with Mercury retrograde, the changes are not going to come maybe as quickly as you might want them to. We might have to wait. We might have to go back and review and revise and re-edit before moving forward. But the energy of change is certainly there on a global scale and on an individual level. And this energy with Uranus and Mars is very volatile. Between that and the eclipses, we're seeing a lot of really intense energy around things like earthquakes, things like strange weather patterns with Uranus and Taurus too. I mean, this stuff is coming up right now, and it's coming up for a reason. Anytime we have eclipses, there's more volcanic activity, there's more earthquakes, there's more tsunamis, there's more things like that. We find that, those energies are increased because of the pull of the sun and moon and that field that's created by that pull of the sun and the moon. And so it affects us geologically, like physically, in a way that's observable on sort of that grand scale when it comes to, natural disasters and things like that. And we're going to see that in our lives too. And so this is a very strong energy. We're seeing it in a big way externally, and it's going to be affecting us and manifesting internally as well through this energy where it's like a volcano needs to erupt inside of us, where it's like it's been building and building and building, and this week it could explode, and we could finally have that energy and have that initiative to make those changes, to break free from those shackles. And so it is a very powerful week. And so I am going to get into the energy for all 12 signs. But before I do, I just want to make a couple of really quick announcements. My Mastering the Outer Planets series is now available. You can get all of the webinars for Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto at a discounted rate for only $69. It's going to go up after that Mastering Uranus webinar I mentioned at the start of this video. And so if you want to take the Mastering Saturn webinar, which you'll get that right away, if you want to attend the live webinars for Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and also the free bonus webinar for Jupiter, which will happen in the spring, then you can sign up. You can register down in the description below, and you can attend all of those webinars at a very discounted rate. So that's one thing that's going on. And if you are a Leo sun sign, your solar return forecast for the year ahead is now available. The link is down in the description below. You'll receive it within 48 hours of your purchase, and it's going to give a very good overview with a lot of detail about the most important energies and influences that you'll be coming up against, and also maybe coming up in terms of like being able to utilize it and move with the energy in a positive way for the year ahead. And so that is down in the description below. So the link is down there. And I think that's pretty much it. If you want to sign up for my weekly newsletter too, I'm starting a weekly astro highlights where I'm posting this on Facebook, on my blog, and I'm also providing an option if you want it sent right to your inbox. And so the link to do that will be down in the description below as well. And I think that's pretty much all of it. My links to my social media changed because I've been asking Facebook to make my page name the same as my business name for a while now, and they were denying me and telling me they wanted my tax returns and all sorts of stuff that I'm not going to give them, obviously. Because what? But they finally, it just changed on its own. And so that's cool. But all of my links are broken now too. So there's new links for my social media down below. All right, and so let's just get into the forecast now for all 12 signs, beginning with Aries. Oh, and one thing I did forget to mention is that Neptune will be helping us out this week. I was focusing on a lot of that intense energy, but Neptune will actually be in trine with the sun, and forming a sextile with Saturn and all of that. And so we have this powerful energy where if we rely on our intuition, if we approach things more compassionately, creatively, intuitively, all of that, we will be able to navigate that energy, that push and pull between that oppressive energy and these new beginnings with Saturn and the sun, Pluto and the sun, the south node, north node, and the sun as part of that sort of eclipse activation point that we're experiencing this week. And so I'll, of course, include that in the forecast for all 12 signs too. Okay, so let's get into this. All right, so for Aries and for Aries rising, Mars will be conjunct Mercury in the 5th house of romance, children, play, fun, spontaneity, hobbies, interests, passions, things that you love to do because you love to do them. And this could spark an energy where you feel really passionate about something, where you need to maybe have an important conversation with your children or about your children or with a romantic partner. This could actually spark some really passionate, creative, fun energy in your life if you're an Aries sun, moon, or rising with your, sun, moon, rising sign between that 4 and 6 degrees. But especially, I would say anywhere from, let's say 2 to 6 degrees, because that's where that conjunction will become more exact. So you'll have this energy in a trine with your ascendant. And so this is a really great time for you to take initiative, to do something that sparks joy, right? That Marie Kondo thing. But to do something that brings joy to your life, that allows you to experience more of that playful, childlike energy, and to incorporate that into your orientation in life, to incorporate that into the way that you present yourself out in the world in a more playful, fun, passionate sort of manner. And so you can incorporate this more into your personality, this fun, this childlike energy, this play, this passion. And so this could be a time, though, where you need to take action on something. Maybe you need to take action on revisiting an old hobby or an old interest or an old love interest that comes back into your life this week. Maybe you need to revisit some sort of action that you've taken around your children or an important conversation involving your children. There could be also this need, though, to break away and to change something that could be sparked this week. And so you could have unexpected circumstances that come about involving financial situations that require you to take action, especially financial situations that are tied up in, some sort of business that you own as an entrepreneur, or that are tied up with your children or with your hobbies or your passions or the things that you love to do because you love to do them. And so there could be this energy of really needing to jump in and do something new on a financial level. It could even be that you've been feeling this really oppressive energy, which is really strong right now in your 10th house of career. And you decide that this is the time where you need to become more independent when it comes to the way that you create resources for yourself. And so this could be the energy that really takes hold this week. And by creating that independence and by breaking free from that oppressive, burdensome, problematic energy in your 10th house of career, you're going to create more space for yourself to do the things that you love to do because you love to do them, but also to spend more time in your comfort zones, to spend more time focusing on your family, your home life, the people that you surround yourself with because they support you and because you love them. Focusing more attention on that energy is going to be fruitful for you this week. This could be a really good week if you want to take some time to escape and to just maybe veg out or spend time with your family. That's a really good way to escape from reality this week. But really you need to be faced. So there's this energy here where there's a push and pull between needing to escape a little bit, needing to rest. And this is a time where you can go kind of behind the scenes, behind closed doors, focus on your family, focus on your home life. Spend some time at home just watching Netflix or doing a creative project, or spend time in meditation and contemplation this week. And that'll help guide you in the right direction when it comes to figuring out where you're headed when it comes to your home, your family, your property. And, those areas of life right now might be up for change. And so that is an area of focus as well. So essentially you're working on changing things and liberating yourself from any stagnant, stale energy when it comes to your resources, your finances, the way that you create money or save money or utilize your money. You're also working on letting go of oppressive energy when it comes to your career. And so that way you can spend more time focusing on what brings you joy and focusing on what matters most behind the scenes, what you come home to. All right. And then for Taurus and for Taurus rising. So this energy is impacting you pretty strongly this week. This is going to be a powerful week for Taurus. And, this is a week where that energy of Uranus in your sign is being activated very intensely, especially if you have your sun, your moon, your rising sign around that 6th degree in the sign of Taurus. So I would say anywhere from 3 to 9 degrees, you'll be feeling this really intensely, but especially at that 6th degree. And so, this is a time where there could first off be some sort of conflict that comes up, disagreement, argument, need to take action in the area of home, family, property, your place of living. So you might need to take action to renegotiate a contract, to revisit an important conversation, something along those lines. But there's also this really intense energy that pulls you to look at the areas of life where you feel frustrated, because this is a time right now for Taurus, especially at those beginning degrees. So if you're an early Taurus, where you're going to be working on really liberating yourself and really making a lot of changes in all areas of life. And so this is a time where your entire life is up for review, and where anywhere that you've been suppressing the urge to rebel and to change something and to do something in a new, exciting way, you're going to feel a very intense urge to externalize that rebellion this week. And with Mercury in retrograde, you might kind of have to go back and redo it. You might say something you don't mean really impulsively, especially when it comes to your family. However, if it's been building and you've been resisting it, this is a week where it's all going to come to a head, and you're going to have to make those changes, especially when it comes to your home, your family, your place of living, your relationships, and your career path moving forward. The other thing that's going on here is you have this opposition between the sun with the north node, and Saturn in the south node in your 9th and your 3rd house. And so this is a time where you really have to let go of old dogmatic belief systems and structures and ideas in your life that are preventing you from moving forward and embracing new information, approaching things in a new way, letting go of holding on to things because they have practical value when it comes to your beliefs and your ideas about life, and looking at, what makes sense more intuitively, what makes more sense more on that internal, creative, intuitive level, using your intuition more as guidance in these matters, as opposed to looking to these rigid belief systems that you're adhering to due to, maybe some sort of religious belief that you were brought up with, or some sort of conditioning from a certain system of belief or a certain education system. And looking at those themes, looking at what's oppressing you there and what's preventing you from having an open mind and from allowing your intuition to take hold and to trust it a little bit more so. And then you have this energy here of Neptune in your 11th house trining the sun in the 3rd house. This is a really great week for really intuitive, compassionate, creative conversation with groups of people that you surround yourself with by choice. So reaching out to your friends and forming those connections, forming those more compassionate bonds. And that's actually going to be a way to provide relief from some of the intensity that you're experiencing this week, leaning on your friendships and your social networks a little bit more so. All right, and then for Gemini and for Gemini rising, this energy with the square is happening in your 12th house. And so when you have Uranus transiting the 12th house, This is a time where you might be exploring, some strange forms of spirituality, some strange belief systems, some strange ideas or areas of study behind closed doors. So you might be sort of facilitating that to a certain extent. And this is also an energy where repressed, rebellious urges really come to the forefront, and on a subconscious level, you feel this urge to rebel, and it sort of manifests itself externally without you even trying. And so this is a time where you might feel more compelled to externalize that rebellion, especially when it comes to your speech, your language, your ideas, the way that you communicate. And so you can find yourself this week very impulsively saying things that are shocking or disturbing to other people that cause, a little bit of blowback or a little bit of discord when it comes to the way that you communicate with other people. So you might find yourself in the midst of arguments and disputes, but usually they're because you kind of created it for yourself by saying something that was shocking or disruptive, or saying it just to shock people even could be part of this energy too. The other thing that's going on is that you have Saturn and Pluto with the South Node in your 8th house, which is the house of joint finances. It's the house of power and control issues, other people's money, debt, taxes, inheritance, death, rebirth, all of these energies, sexuality, passion, but more on a deep, intimate level. And so you have this energy here where Saturn and Pluto are causing you to look at anything in your life that seems to be beyond your control, especially when it comes to your fears and your anxieties. And especially when it comes to your fears and anxieties and past trauma, past wounds around money and finances, and especially the way that that power and control is stripped from you through dealing with financial issues. And so it could be that you really need to let go of relying on other people's resources in order to create more freedom to do what you want to do financially, to have the ability to make purchases without asking permission or asking for a loan, or having to put so much money into paying off debts, paying off credit cards, paying taxes, this, that, and the other thing. So looking at those themes and the way that those themes oppress you and control you. But this is also looking at your fears and anxieties around resources and letting go of anything that's holding you back from embracing your path and from creating resources in the way that you see fit, because that's part of this energy too. So money matters are highlighted this week, and a need to make change or to change your orientation around money is highlighted really intensely. This is a week, though, where creative or intuitive or spiritual or mystical energies in your 10th house can be very fruitful for you when it comes to creating resources in a different way moving forward. And so utilizing your intuition as guidance for how you can make money moving forward, or how you can alter your career to create a better path for yourself when it comes to your finances moving forward. So looking to your intuition as guidance is favored this week. And then for Cancer and Cancer rising, so this energy with the Mars conjunction to Mercury is happening in your 2nd house of finances. And so you might find that there are arguments, disputes, difficulties. Why am I blurry now? There we go. There are arguments and disputes and difficulties that come up, or something that you really need to take action on or revise, right? That you need to take action on in a different way, or you need to revisit. And it comes up very intensely this week around money and resources. And so you might find that you're on the receiving end of an angry message about a bill that you forgot to pay, or that you paid and then they didn't receive it, and something along those lines, where there's a miscommunication around resources that you really have to address and take action on. Or maybe your paycheck is wrong, or maybe somebody owes you money and there's an argument or a dispute, especially amongst friends and social networks, around resources that could come up for you this week. And so all of these things are potentials. Uranus in the 11th house is causing you to really need to make some sort of abrupt change to your social networks, to the people that you surround yourself with by choice, to your friends. And so you might find friendships beginning and ending rather abruptly this week. You might have shocking new information that comes in around your social circle. You might find yourself saying things really shocking and disruptive, to your friends, and sort of disrupting the relationships there. But there's an energy here of disruption to your friendships that can come about in a way that's very intense. This could also involve social networks on the internet, internet-based connections with people. This could also involve humanitarian types of pursuits or groups and organizations that you are a part of. So if you are, in some sort of club or some sort of networking group, there could be a disruptive energy there this week where things don't go quite as planned. Or maybe you have a really exciting new opportunity that you have to jump on really quickly, and you do so maybe a little impulsively without really doing your homework and your due diligence, and you end up in a group that maybe is not quite in alignment with what you truly desire, or that's maybe not in alignment with your integrity fully and completely. And so paying attention to that is important. For those who have Cancer, sun signs, moon signs, and rising signs, really anywhere from, I would say, 15 to 25 degrees, because we're going to have the sun moving from 17 to 22 degrees this week and hitting the North Node, South Node, Pluto, and Saturn, which the South Node, Pluto, and Saturn are in your 7th house. So anyone who has, their important points in their chart within that range of 15 to 22 degrees in Cancer, you're going to be feeling this very, very intensely. This is like an eclipse activation point. And so anything that was coming up for you last week, anything that was initiated last week in terms of change and new beginnings and letting go of oppressive energies and starting something fresh, moving in a new direction in life, that's going to come up for you a little bit more so this week. This energy here of Saturn and Pluto in opposition to the sun, if your birthday is this week, so from the 8th to the 14th, you're going to really be feeling this for the entire next year, because this is part of your solar return energy. And so your year is going to be about moving into a faded new direction in life. This is going to be a life-changing year for you. And this is a year where you're going to have to really work on letting go of oppressive, burdensome, limiting energies, especially when it comes to your relationships. And so if you want to learn more about that, you can order your solar return forecast for the year ahead down in the description below, where we talk about this more in depth. But in general, this week for Cancer, Sun, and Risings in particular, this is going to be a week where you might feel the burden of limitation and restriction in important relationships much more fully and completely, where it can become much more difficult for you to move into the direction that you feel like you're meant to move into, to connect with your destiny, to connect with the direction that you're being pulled toward by fate, by destiny, by these signs and synchronicities. You're going to have to look at your relationships and either restructure those relationships and work really hard to do so, to really put in the work to create better intimacy, better loyalty, better trust moving forward. Or you're going to have to work really hard on letting go of those relationships, but doing so in a responsible manner, putting in the legwork to make sure that you're not just leaving them high and dry. You're not just creating a mess for somebody else to clean up. You need to really make sure that you are living up to your end of the responsibility for the situation you've created in your partnerships and in your relationships moving forward. And by doing so, you'll free up energy over the course of this next year, but especially, this month, for you to pursue what you came here to pursue, for you to move into this new path that you feel very strongly that you need to move into right now. And so it might appear to others that you're a little bit selfish right now, and you might be more selfish right now, these Cancer rising people in particular, and Cancer sun signs, because you're obsessed with this new direction. You're obsessed with creating these new beginnings, with this change. It feels like fate is guiding you and you have to move in this direction. And so you might neglect some of your responsibilities in relationships. And so this is a week where you really need to come into balance and make sure you're taking care of your relationships, making sure that you're putting in the effort, and that if you do need to let things go, you're doing it in the right way and you're not just creating chaos for somebody else. Okay, and then for Leo and for Leo rising. So this energy here for Leo is happening. So first off, if you are a Leo rising with your sun, moon rising, especially between, let's say, 2 and 6 degrees, Really, I would say 2 and 8 degrees, because Mars square to Uranus is going to be hitting you too. This is going to be an intense week for you. This is a week where you're going to be feeling really on edge. You're going to be feeling very volatile. You might have a short temper, a short fuse. You might just be feeling really amped up, really agitated, really anxious, because there's a lot of energy moving through you right now. There's a lot of volatility. There's a lot of need to change something. And so it can cause you to rush through, to make really impulsive, risky decisions this week that can lead to injuries, that can lead to arguments and disputes, that can lead to you making really poor decisions for yourself, that cause a lot of hardship for you in your career, especially, and your public reputation might take a hit as a result. So you want to make sure that you're really thinking things through. If you've been holding back on changing something when it comes to your direction in life, when it comes to your relationships, and especially when it comes to your career, and it feels like you can't wait any longer, and it's been building and building and building, and you know it has, but you've been resisting that change, now's a time where it might reach its boiling point and you might have to make that change. And so it's going to all come to a head this week, and you're going to find yourself jumping into something new. If that's the case, then that's okay. You might need to make adjustments along the way, and you might jump in a little too hard, too fast, and it might be disruptive to the people in your work environment, in your relationships, even your family members. So it's not going to be without complication, but it's something that needs to happen. If it's something that just comes up for the first time this week and it's just pushing your buttons and you're just going to jump in and make a crazy decision, that's a little bit different. But if it's been building, then this is a week where it might actually have to come to that point where you change something, and it could come about in a really shocking, unexpected way. Expect the unexpected this week for Leo rising signs, sun signs, especially at those beginning degrees, because this is a week where strange and unusual, unorthodox circumstances could come in and create change for you too. So surprises this week. But this is also an energy here where you're letting go. So there's a lot of change up for you when it comes to your career and when it comes to even your day-to-day work experience, because you have Saturn, Pluto, and the South Node being highlighted by that energy of the Sun in the 12th house in opposition. It's about restructuring your day-to-day work life. It's about looking out where things feel really heavy and oppressive and burdensome and difficult and on a day-to-day basis, and looking at where you can work on letting go of certain structures in your work environment or certain people in your work environment when it comes to coworkers and things of that nature. So that way you can create more space for yourself to explore, to explore on a spiritual, subconscious, creative, mystical level, to spend more time focusing on your inner world and your subjective well-being. Spend more time on vacation, right? That's that energy of the Sun in trine with Neptune, and this could really stimulate the need for you to take a vacation, the need for you to travel somewhere so you can get away from all of this chaos and craziness that's going on, especially when it comes to your work. All right. And that doesn't mean you'll go on a vacation necessarily this week. If that is the case, it's just you're going to feel like, I need to take a vacation. I'm planning this now. Or you could be traveling. If you're traveling, that's a good escape from this, but you're still going to have to deal with the reality of what's going on. Okay, so for Virgo and for Virgo rising, this energy of Mars and Mercury is happening in a conjunction in your 12th house, which is the house of hidden enemies. And so this is a week where you might come up against rumors about you. You might have this sense that somebody's working against you behind closed doors. You might find out that somebody has been, plotting against you or planning against you or doing something behind your back. This is the house of secrets. And so if you've been keeping secrets, it might become completely unbearable to you to continue to withhold information from people. And so you might find yourself inadvertently sharing things that you were intentionally keeping secret, but unintentionally you end up sharing something maybe that you didn't mean to disclose, and it could cause some difficulty and some strain in your life. This is also a time where your beliefs about God, the universe, the world around you, your perspective on reality might change. You could also have a very unexpected need to travel to a foreign country or long distance that comes about in a really abrupt and shocking way, or an unexpected opportunity for higher education or to learn something new, something that's very disruptive to your current paradigm that you didn't really think that you'd ever want to dive into. That could come up for you this week as well. There's also this energy here with Saturn, Pluto, and the South Node in your 5th house in opposition to the Sun in the 11th. And so this is looking at getting rid of oppressive, burdensome, difficult circumstances related to your children or related to your romantic life. Maybe you're in a partnership right now that feels like more work than fun, that feels like more trouble than it's actually worth, and you need to work on restructuring that area and letting go of that relationship, or restructuring it in a way where you can create deeper intimacy, deeper connection, more stability and longevity within that partnership, and maybe turn it into something long term. But for the most part, this is about letting go of something, and letting go of something really oppressive in the area of romance or children, or letting go of any fears, anxieties, guilt, past trauma, past wounds that are preventing you from connecting with your passions and the things that you love to do because you love to do them. And so that are preventing you from having fun and experiencing joy. This is also an energy of maybe focusing a little bit less on that area and moving into something new when it comes to connecting with groups of people, especially groups of people that you surround yourself with by choice because you like to spend time with them. So friends that feel like family could come into your life this week. You could have faded karmic new friendships that pull you out of focusing so much on issues with children or issues with romance, or trying to create some sort of structure around the things that you love to do, maybe creating a business out of it. This is a time where connecting with groups of people and networking with groups of people can be very fruitful in a lot of different ways. And this is also a good time to connect really empathically, to connect really compassionately with your friends and the people that you spend time with because you love to spend time with them. Just forge more compassionate, interconnected, spiritual connections one-on-one with your friends, and to deepen your friendship with them as a result. All right, and then for Libra and for Libra rising. This energy here is happening at the start of this week with Mercury and Mars in your 11th house of friendship. And so this is a time where you might come into arguments, disputes, disagreements, sort of volatile energy, or an energy where you say something that you don't mean really impulsively, and you sort of hurt yourself in the process, or you hurt your friends in the process. And so there is something potentially that you need to change or take action on, or there could potentially be some disruption or dispute or intensity around friendship that needs to be addressed this week. So around your friends and the groups of people that you surround yourself with. There could also be some sort of issue around your social networks that, or around your connections with groups of people or organizations that involves taxes or debt or other people's money, inheritance, money that comes through marriage or through joint finances. There could be some sort of disruptive energy there. Maybe you made an investment in a certain group or a certain friend and their business, and something comes in that shakes that up and changes things. Maybe you get an unexpected communication around taxes or around inheritance or around a debt that you owe, and you have to address it, and it comes up really abruptly, and it's sort of this shocking energy where you have to look at doing something in a new, innovative, outside of the box way in order to resolve this issue. There's definitely an energy, though, really over the next 7 years of disruption and unexpected circumstances around death, around joint finances, around taxes, around inheritance. So make sure you're double, triple checking your books. You're making sure that you're doing things appropriately, because you don't want to have the unexpected circuit. You want to change things in that area, and you want to do things in new and innovative ways, but you want to make sure you have your ducks in a row so you don't have those negative surprises that come about. This is about creating better financial freedom for yourself, through these 8th house themes. And so another thing that could be coming up for you this week is this energy of oppression and burden and difficulty and limitation and restriction that's coming from your fourth house, which is the house of home, property, family. And so there's something that you need to restructure in the area of your home, where maybe you're surrounding yourself with the wrong people. Maybe you have a roommate or a neighbor, or maybe, well, neighbors are more third house, but maybe you have a roommate or a family member where the energy has become really oppressive and burdensome, and you need to work on changing something about that relationship moving forward. Maybe you need to restructure your home life and what you're doing behind closed doors to create more freedom for yourself to move in the right direction when it comes to your career path, because this whole month is about you moving in a faded new direction with your career, your public status, you as a leader, maybe moving into more of a leadership role or position in life. All of this energy is really intense this week. This is a really good week to utilize your intuition, to spend time in meditation, contemplation, solitude, and seclusion, really focusing on visualizing what you want for yourself in your career, and especially when it comes to your day-to-day routine activities in your career, because that can be very fruitful for you this week. All right, for Scorpio and for Scorpio rising, this energy with the square from Uranus and Mars and Mercury. So Mercury and Mars are coming into a conjunction in your 10th house of career and public status. And so there could be some sort of conflict or dispute or argument that comes up for you in your work, or a very public argument or dispute or something along those lines that comes up for you unexpectedly, where other people are seeing what's going on and maybe even commenting on it or getting involved in it. This could cause arguments and disputes or miscommunications that are very volatile and challenging to deal with when it comes to your people in positions of power and authority in your life, and especially bosses. So you want to make sure you're treading lightly when it comes to interacting with these types of people in your life this week, because you don't want to get on someone's bad side and have something really challenging come up as a result of that. But if there's something that needs to be said or needs to be changed when it comes to an important work-related relationship, now is a time where it might just have been building and building and building, and it might need to come to a head this week. You might feel like you can't resist anymore, and you have to make that change, or you have to say that thing to that person. And if that is the case, then this might be the week where you have to do it, but just know that it might not go the way that you plan. It might have unexpected repercussions, but it might be that this is the straw that broke the camel's back, or that this is the boiling point, and the action has to be released now. You could feel a lot of tension in certain important relationships in your life this week. And so this is showing you where that frustrated energy in relationships, especially if you're a Scorpio rising around 6 degrees, so anywhere from 3 to 9 degrees, you're going to be feeling this the most. And you might be feeling this intensity around important connections, collaborations, and partnerships where you need to change something, and you need to do it now. You need to do it really abruptly. And if it's something that's been building and you've been thinking about for quite some time, then great. This might be the time where you have to do it. But if it's something that's just coming up right now, you might be causing more trouble than anything else. And so you want to be very aware and not just blurt things out or change things all willy-nilly when it comes to your partnerships this week. And then you have this energy with the sun being in the 9th house. And so this is you moving into a new direction right now when it comes to higher educational pursuits, when it comes to publishing, writing, travel, when it comes to teaching, or finding a new teacher or connecting with a teacher. And so this is a really great time to move in a new direction in that area, but you have to let go of your fears, anxieties, limiting beliefs, limiting patterns when it comes to your day-to-day communications that prevent you from moving forward in the right direction. When it comes to these higher educational pursuits, when it comes to maybe writing or publishing something, maybe you have a lot of pessimism and you're structuring things too rigidly and you're just not getting it out, and it's never going to get done if you continue on in this way. And so you have to let go of that just day-to-day self-talk, or you have to let go of fixating on things and making it too perfect so you can actually add some creative flourish to what it is that you're doing there. So there's a lot of energy this week essentially around your mindset, around your beliefs, around communication, writing, teaching, and travel in particular. That could be faded, but also a little bit like intense and maybe feel a little bit burdensome in a lot of ways. But travel opportunities this week can really provide a means for you to connect with the things that you love to do because you love to do them, to connect with your passions, to move forward in the right direction in life. And so, there's good energy there if you can move in that direction, if you can navigate it more intuitively. For Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising. All right, so this energy is happening with the Mars-Mercury conjunction in your 9th house, which is the house of travel. It's the house of, foreign countries. It's the house of higher education. And so there could be some sort of argument or dispute or difficulty surrounding your integrity. Or the need to take action to do something new when it comes to educational pursuits, when it comes to travel plans, when it comes to writing or publishing something, when it comes to teaching or connecting with a new teacher. And if you're a Sagittarius rising between 2 and let's say 8 degrees, you're going to be feeling this in a very positive way. So this is going to cause you to have to revisit an old belief system, an old idea, and to reincorporate that into the way that you navigate through life and reincorporate that into the way that you project your energy outwardly. So you're aligning yourself more so with your beliefs, with your integrity. And so that's part of this energy too. There could be a conflict though between your beliefs and your philosophy on life and what's going on in your day-to-day work environment, especially if you're in a service-oriented industry. And so there could be this energy where it becomes very volatile and you have an argument or a dispute with a coworker, or you're no longer able to accept the status quo and to continue on in the same way when it comes to your work and your day-to-day work routines. So there could be some disruption in that area. There's also a really intense energy this week for you around finances. And so we just had this eclipse that happened in your 8th house, which is the house of joint finances. And so maybe you're moving in a new direction when it comes to investments, when it comes to taxes, debt, inheritance. Maybe you're getting your ducks in a row when it comes to, things like what's it called? Like life insurance or something like that, preparing for, if something were to happen to you. Maybe you're working on paying off debts. Maybe you're moving in the right direction when it comes to a joint financial pursuit with your spouse or, a business partner. All of these things could be up for the energy right now, but there's something that's preventing you from moving forward. There's an oppressive, burdensome energy when it comes to your 2nd house of finances, and especially the way that you create your own resources through your own hard work, your own labor. And so there's this rebellious energy in your 6th house that makes you want to change something, where you're not accepting the status quo anymore when it comes to your day-to-day work routines. And then there's this oppressive, burdensome energy when it comes to your finances that you need to let go of. It could be that you need to pay off debts. It could be that you need to take control of your finances and budget things and really plan things a lot better. Or it could be that you need to let go of a certain way of creating resources that has become so oppressive that you feel like you can't move forward in another direction. You feel like you can't breathe. You feel like it's really limiting and restricting and bogging you down. And this week could provide an opportunity where this is really highlighted in a way that you can see it much more clearly, and you can see the way out much more clearly as well. And, this is a really great time also for... you could really connect with somebody maybe in your home environment and pursue a new path when it comes to joint finances or resources or an investment in property or a home or something like that this week. And that could come about in a really positive way. All right. And then for Capricorn and Capricorn rising. So this square here first off, the conjunction between Mercury and Mars is happening in your 8th house, which is the house of joint finances. It's the house of taxes, debt, inheritance, death. It's the house of fears and anxieties and traumas and deep psychological issues that are buried beneath the surface and maybe repressed. And so all of these things might come up in really abrupt sort of ways where you have to deal with redoing something, reviewing something, revising something when it comes to joint finances, when it comes to an important investment, when it comes to something involving taxes. Maybe you get a really angry letter from the IRS or something this week. I hope that's not the case. Or from a debt collections agency. And it comes about in a way that's unexpected, that's shocking, that really gets you on edge and causes you to have to change something involving the way that you deal with finances, or especially joint finances through marriage. Maybe you didn't know that your partner has debt and you receive a letter or a collections call, and you have to have a really difficult conversation, and it leads to disputes about money. Those all potentials this week. And the other thing that's going on is the need to change something so that way you have more freedom and independence to liberate yourself in a way that allows you to experience more joy. And maybe you need to liberate yourself from financial bondage, from financial shackles, to take action on something in that way in order to create more space for yourself to play, to enjoy the things that you love to do, to spend time with your children, to just engage in things that you feel passionate about this week. There's also a potential difficulty with relationships that could come up this week. You're moving in a new direction when it comes to partnerships right now. You're going to have faded new connections, faded collaborations, faded relationships that come up for you throughout this time. Or you might have faded circumstances within a current partnership that come up and pull you in a whole new direction when it comes to your relationship. And in order for you to move in that direction, you need to let go of your own personal baggage, your own personal responsibilities that have become too oppressive and too burdensome, and that are preventing you from fully embracing these new relationships, these new contracts, these new commitments in life, or the new way that you're going to go about engaging in relationship with your partner. And so letting go of your own hang-ups, your old conditioned patterns of behaving and believing and acting in the world that are preventing you from fully embracing these new relationships that could be coming up in very karmic, fated, synchronistic ways, pulling you really intensely into these relationships. This is a week where you could have really compassionate, loving communication and partnership that can really take you out of having to focus so much of your energy around these intense situations in your life. And so connecting and having really good, open, compassionate communication with your partner, if you are, in partnership with somebody else, that could be a really good way to utilize this energy. And then for Aquarius and Aquarius rising. So this is happening with the Mars conjunction to Mercury in your 7th house of relationships. And so this could be a week where, especially if you are an Aquarius rising between 4 and 6 degrees, or between, let's say, 2 and 8 degrees, you could be having some very difficult conversations this week, or having to revisit old arguments and disputes in relationships, or having to take action on something, or to react to something, or to redo something involving an important contract, commitment, or relationship. And it could come up rather abruptly. There could also be a need to change something when it comes to your home, your family, your property, your place of living, or a contract or agreement involving your home or property or place of living. And so there could be some volatile energy causing you to need to change something about your home environment this week. And it could come up in a way that's shocking, unexpected, maybe even a little disturbing, but it's going to help to liberate you from an old way of interacting with that energy, an old way of interacting with your family members, an old way of interacting with your partner who you live with, or your roommates, or your landlord, or your mortgage broker, or whatever it is that comes up for you this week. You're going to have to deal with it in a new and innovative way and liberate yourself from the old way of dealing with these types of matters. And so that's going to be part of this energy too. With the opposition, so the sun in the 6th house of work and daily routines and health habits is in a conjunction with the North Node, trining Neptune. And so this is a week where creative endeavors and creative projects for your work can be very fruitful and can come about to pull you in a faded new direction when it comes to your day-to-day life, your day-to-day routines. And even, with your health, you might have a faded new direction that you're moving into when it comes to the way that you deal with your health. But you have to let go of the past first. You have to let go of past fears and anxieties from this lifetime and previous lifetimes. You have to let go of any old oppressive energy from, your entire life, really, that you've been holding on to on a subconscious level in order to move forward into this new direction. You need to let go of this need to escape from everything. So letting go of escapism, letting go of fantasy, addiction, anything that's not real, so that way you can face reality and go where you need to go when it comes to your work and when it comes to your daily habits. And when it comes to your health routines as well, maybe you're focusing so much on, your spiritual well-being, and you're trying to do things more energetically, which could be okay this week, but you have to really look at things in a real way too, and what's going on in the physical realm in order to move forward in the right direction. And then for Pisces and for Pisces rising, this energy here is happening with the Mars conjunction of Mercury in your 6th house of work and daily routines. And so with Uranus being involved in the 3rd house, you might have some very volatile, unexpected communication that disrupts your work and your relationship with coworkers. You might have people, saying things that are not nice to you. You might have people plotting against you very openly. You might have arguments and disputes in the workplace and with coworkers. Or you might just be very, very busy this week with work and with communication and emails and phone calls and having to deal with, conferences and meetings and things like that. And it could get a little heated and a little disruptive. And you might say things that you might not mean, or you might say things in the wrong way, and it could cause a little bit of difficulty there. But if there is something you really want to change when it comes to your mindset or your beliefs about something, if there's a new educational pursuit that you've been thinking about going into to change your work experience on a day-to-day basis, now's the time where you might reach your breaking point, and you might say, okay, I'm signing up for that class. I'm going to learn this new skill so I no longer have to deal with all of this nonsense on a day-to-day basis with my coworkers and with my work. This is also an energy here where the sun is in the 5th house of fun, play. The sun is calling on you right now with the North Node to move into a fated new direction that connects you more with your passions, your hobbies, your interests, the things that you love to do because your heart is in it. And especially when those things are creative or nurturing in some sort of way. But the energy that's preventing you from doing that is the energy of the people you're surrounding yourself with. Are you surrounding yourself with the right group of people? Are your friends supportive of the things that your heart is really in and connected to? Are your friends supportive of your romantic partnership, if that's part of this energy too? Are they holding you back from actually experiencing your full potential? Are they holding you back from expressing yourself creatively out in the world? Are you afraid of what they're thinking about you? Is that energy oppressive? So if those relationships are burdensome, if they're causing you harm, if they're preventing you from connecting with your heart and what your heart wants, now's the time to let that loose, to let it go, to work toward deconstructing those relationships and reconstructing new ones, or working on really transforming those relationships in a powerful way, those friendships, those networks with groups of people. It could also be that you spend a lot of time focusing on a certain group that you're a part of. Maybe you're the head of an organization, or maybe you're involved in an organization that takes up a lot of your time and energy, and it's become more burdensome than anything else, and it's preventing you from experiencing joy because you're focusing too much energy on it. And so this could be a time to let that go and to move forward in a new direction. It could also be that just social media and interactions via the internet are becoming really oppressive and burdensome and difficult to deal with. And so you have to let go. You have to get off of Facebook. You have to delete your Instagram. You have to, stop being on these platforms and networks in order to focus more on what your heart wants, and to focus more on your creativity and, the way that you find joy, or focus more time and energy on your children if you have any, or your romantic life. And so it could be that you're online dating and you're realizing that this is not working for you, and this is preventing you from making real heartfelt connections with people. All right, and so that is the energy for all 12 signs. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please like and share this video, and subscribe to my channel so you'll never miss a weekly forecast, especially right now during eclipse season where things are getting a little crazy. And as always, if you want to book a reading with me, I'm still doing single question and urgent single question readings right now. You can always do that. The link is down in the description below, and I will see you next week.